Will Lytle is up next. He is the genius illustrator, also known as Thorn-Eater Comics. His illustrations can be found every week in the Woodstock Times. He's recently returned from a trip to Cambodia, Vietnam, and Laos. And he did beautiful illustrations in his time there, too, that you can see if you go to his Facebook page or Tumblr, Will Lytle. And he is a past Story Slam winner. Will Lytle.
My father and I split wood in the afternoon. The call of the splitter separated us from each other and made all of our speaking come through our hands and our eyes. The red oak we were working then in large rounds was wet and rebellious and often went counter to our plans for it. I was growing sore by the work, but the next round I rolled down from the pile wasn't red oak, but a strange, well-muscled wood without bark. I rolled it to the pad of the splitter, and my eyes met my father's, and through them I saw that he shared my gladness to be free from the tyranny of that ill-behaved oak. The metal of the splitting wedge descended cleanly and dove into the flesh of this new wood and clove its way through it. The halves falling revealed the wood inside was a gleaming white. A fresh smell came up from it, and for a moment my breath was lost for its sweetness. This same reaction in my father was evidenced by the stillness of his great hands, which at all times of work otherwise were moving and purposeful. Again, we spoke to each other through our eyes and said some things about our wonder at the purity of this color and the strange magic that its perfume had on our hardened winter hearts. We lulled into the rhythm of the work, splitting the rounds into pieces sized to burn in our modest stoves. But all the time while watching the blade of the splitter come down, I felt a heaviness grow at the base of my stomach. By the time we had started up on the second half of the round, my heart was soaked in a strange fury of despair, and my father, too, seemed slow to love the act of small destruction we visited on the white wood. But we made to finish the work. The tree was felled, the wood was dead. But we muted our eyes to each other because if we had looked into each other's eyes, we might have both seen trespassing tears there. And this is no thing that either a father or a son wants to see in the other on some cold late autumn afternoon. We split the round fully, and after it was done with, I returned to the pile and searched for another. But there was no match to the first, only more oak and some maple. I rolled down the maple and we split it. Its flesh was yellow. But no amount of work would dull in us the new sadness we felt for the world, and after a short time my father reached for the throttle of the machine and stilled it. We sat together in the sudden silence for some time until my father said in a strained voice that he thought that the round may have been white cherry. And while I nodded my head in acceptance of his opinion, I knew it was not true, and that wood was nothing other than some spirit of beauty and purity sublimed in the world, strangely as no flower or flying bird, but as a round sawn section of wood, meant to be unmade in the fires of some later winter's day. We knew the work was done, and together we covered the remaining rounds with a loose tarp to shelter it from the coming night's promised rain. Overwhelmed with an exhaustion of sadness, I shambled over to my cabin to be for a time alone and silent. Now it is the last hard days of winter. Old snow is on the ground, and when the wind blows, it brings its misery in through the slats of my cabin. This morning I made to start a fire to stave off the cold, and lo, there laying in my wood box was a piece of the white wood. All I could do was pile newspaper and some sticks of pine and kindle a fire on the old ashes. And as soon as it was burning strongly, I lay the white wood on the apex of the flame. I shut the stove door and settled down on the hard floor before it and watched through the little mica windows as the fire grew and felt the heat that came now off of it. I sat there waiting to hear some sound, which I knew in my heart I wished would be the singing of many voices.
It's Will Lytle.